everyone, it's Sharonda from Pay or Wait, and today I'm going to be reviewing Succession Season 2, Episode 3, Hunting. And baby, did we go hunting in this episode. So this is actually one of the new shows I actually started watching. My friends, they were complaining. They were like, Sharonda, you never listen to any of our TV recommendations. Like, why won't you just at least watch one show? And so I gave them that option to give me a show to binge, and they said Succession. So I spent this past week binging the first season, absolutely loved it, and I've watched the first 2 episodes, and I was gonna go in order and post the other ones, but this episode was so crazy that I just had to go ahead and start with this. And if you guys haven't been watching Succession, trust me, watch it. If you haven't even watched the episode, go ahead and watch this episode 3, and I guarantee you, you will be hooked and you will be ready to complete the binge, and you will love me forever. Like, thank you so much for introducing me to this show, because it really is that good. So this episode opens up, and Greg, their cousin Greg, he is having a meeting with this lady, and so we're trying to figure out, what is he talking about? I was like, is he about to snitch, kind of about the dirt that he has on time and what's been going on with, all of these like cases and parks that they've been sweeping under the rug. But we see that he's meeting with a writer who's writing an autobiography on Logan Roy about his life and about work. And so he starts talking to her. He's very nervous, doesn't really want to speak to her. And once he actually says oh, he would kill me if he knew I was meeting with you, she starts writing. He's just like, hold on, wait a minute. I didn't agree to this. This is like a pre-meeting to the real meeting before I can decide if I actually want to meet with you. And so she's just like, sir, you can't go off the record after you're already on the record. It doesn't work that way. Like, what you already said is done. It just doesn't happen. And so he gets really nervous. He gets up and he's about to leave, and he was like, don't write about how I look or how I'm walking away right now. Greg is one of those characters that I don't know if I like him, but he gives me so many laughs that you just have to care about him, because he just cray. I don't understand. And so this entire episode, he's really freaking out about this meeting, and it gets heightened when Logan kind of finds out about this book, and that they've been contacting members of his family and also 2 members, of his staff at the company at Waystar. And so he's on this witch hunt, which ties into our episode's name, Hunting, of trying to figure out who the mole was that basically has been talking to this writer, because he doesn't want this book to happen. And so we see this interesting conversation that he has with Tom while they're in Hungary, because that's what rich people do when they go on their corporate retreats. They go hunting in Hungary. I just don't even try to understand this. But he asks him, he kind of tells him what happened. He's like, can I trust you? And he was like, yeah, to a certain point. I was like, to a certain point, sir, what do you mean? Either I can trust you or I can't. And then I was like, Greg, don't tell him nothing to a certain point. No. And so he basically tells him what happened. And then he says he met with Arthur, and he's like, if you tell Logan what is happening, he's going to kill you. And I was like, you know what, Tom, I never agree with you, but yes, he is actually going to kill you. And so everyone's kind of on edge this episode, because at the beginning of the episode, we have a little bit of foreshadowing at the beginning of the episode with Logan, in which he's meeting with his doctor. His doctor is kind of checking up on him, and he basically tells him some of the side effects from his medication could cause anxiety, paranoia, which is an irritation, which Logan is irritated every episode. He always has anxiety. He's always paranoid, because he always thinks that someone is trying to backstab him, which, he really doesn't. He's very valid in feeling this way. But of course, all of these senses are heightened because his medication is making him do this as well. And so it's kind of a foreshadowing into what we see throughout this course of an episode of Logan's paranoia and how this plays out at the corporate retreat. But before they are able to get there, we see the secretary walks into the office while he's talking to the doctor, and then she says hey, they want to know if you're gonna go see your friend Mo. He's in hospice. And then he was like and then she was like, he only has a week or 2 to live. And he was like, well, ask me in a week or 2. And I was like, sir, if she said that he only had a week or 2 to live, my man's ain't gonna be here in a week or 2. What do you mean? I was just like, I can't with Logan. So he's trying to talk to his banker, because Logan is trying to stop this hostile takeover from Stewie and Sandy. And so basically he gets this idea that if he takes over Pierce Global Media, which is the CNN of media, the serious people, people. This is where we get the real news from. Basically, he will be able to acquire them for $20 billion. And then because their company will be so big, Sandy and Stewie won't have enough money to basically complete this takeover of Waystar. And so this is his idea. And then his banker kind of tells him, maybe we can make this work if you can get all of this to go down. And then basically maybe it's all that he needed to hear. And so he goes to the board and he tells them what he is trying to do. And everyone's like, oh, okay. Like, do you think we should be doing an acquisition right now? Because we try to stop you from losing your company. And he was like, this is the plan. This is how we're going to stop them, and just get to it. So we see that everyone is pretty much against this idea, except Tom, who's just trying to be a team player. Kendall, I just fear for him because I just don't know what's wrong with Kendall. I don't know how to read Kendall anymore because Kendall, after everything that's happened to him, he's just, I just want him to get help so bad, y'all. Just so bad. So Kendall's okay with this. Roman's okay with it, but Roman's always okay with it. But he's trying to fight against Kendall to show he's the better son because he wants to be the one that's named as taking over the company. And so we see that you could tell that like Jerry and Carl, they have reservations. Everyone in this entire room has reservations. They do not want this to take place. They think that it's a horrible idea. They've tried to attempt this once before and it didn't end too well. So they're kind of just like, why are we doing this all over again? So we see that all of them are basically, trying to figure out, like, so how can we get the ball rolling on this? And they were like, so who do they like? And then they were like, oh, they like Frank. But the problem is he got rid of Frank because Frank was trying to, Frank knew about what Kendall was doing. He didn't tell him, and so he fired him. And so Roman was like, you better not hire him back. If you hire him back, I'm going to walk out. And then Logan is just like, I don't care. And he was like, walk back to my office. And I was just like, Roman, just stop. I don't even know why you keep trying this. But we see that everyone basically gets on the plane to go to Hungary because that's where rich people go in their companies. They go to Hungary because Logan is all about boosting company morale, which we see that he does a horrible job throughout the course of the episode. And so it's funny when they get on the plane and then Greg makes this comment like, oh my gosh, I've never been on a private plane before. I feel like I'm a part of a band, like a very rich, very wealthy, and a very white band. I was just like, that sounds about right. So while they're on the plane, that is when Logan is told about this book and how somebody's already spoken to the writer. And so basically he was just like, can you stop her? And then Jerry was like, you can't do that. You can't just stop people from trying to write a book that they want to. Like, they're their freedom of speech. They can do whatever they want to do. He was like, can we find a movie for her to work on for 20 years? Can you, just scare her? Whatever you need to do. And I was just like, Logan, I don't think this is okay. But you know what? Do you, boo? So this has Greg on edge because he just, he put Sam on it. Logan has Sam get on it, who's basically does background checks on everyone, digs up dirt on everyone. Even Tom told Greg that he did a background check on him when he started dating Shiv. And so this has Greg shook, and he should be shook. And so they finally make it to the retreat. And so when he walks in, he asks Jerry, he was like, hey, how's morale? And she's like, good. Everyone looks absolutely miserable. So which makes this even more funny, which makes it even funnier because just sir, you can't just ask people how's morale like that because you're kind of bullying them to make them say morale is great. But it's whatever. So we see that Frank shows up to the retreat because they're trying to get Frank back to help them close this Pierce acquisition. And so he gets him a watch because he talks about calls him Shakespearean Frank. He writes a nice little note on it. And so basically Roman tells him it hasn't been the same without you, Frank. And then he's like, it's been better. I just love the pettiness of Roman. Roman is the joke, but he just gives me all the laughs every single episode. And so the guy comes in and he tells them hey guys, it's time for safety training. And then the safety briefing. And then Logan's like, here's the safety briefing for you. If you move against me, I'll put a hole in the back of your effing head. I was like, Logan, I don't think this is helping company morale right now, but I still got a kick out of it. Brian Cox did a fantastic job this episode. If this is the episode that you submit for his Emmy nomination, he better get it because he was just so on point this entire episode. I absolutely loved him. And so we see that throughout the course of this retreat, we find out that the Pierce family's found out what they're planning to do. And so this only enhances his paranoia throughout this retreat, because now not only does he have to figure out which family member talked to the writer, now he has to figure out who is trying to stop this takeover from happening. And so we see that it's not really someone trying to stop the takeover from happening. It's really his son Roman, who talked to his girlfriend Tabitha, and basically, he was just like, Naomi Pierce, could you get me a meeting with her? This is what I'm trying to do. And then she's like, okay, like, sure. And then he's like, how do you know her? And he's like, did you have sex with her? And she was like, she was just like, no, she didn't say anything. She just looked at him. He was like, who do I know that you haven't had sex with? She was like, you. And I was like, sir, why are you so scared to have sex with her? I know you really like Tabitha, but it's really weirding me out that you have such a, for some reason, you're just so afraid to just do the deed. Get it over with. It's your girl. Y'all living together. Y'all doing all of this. I don't understand what your problem is. So in the meantime, Kendall's trying to figure out what's going on with Roman. They're trying to smoke each other out to figure out if they were the ones who talked to the writer. But he sees that Roman takes a phone call. He kind of talking in cryptic. And he was like, who are you talking to? And he was just like, it's none of your business. And so all of this is kind of while all of this is coming to a head, we got to talk about Connor real quick. I'm going to take a break from the craziness. We're going to get back to their corporate retreat, and we're going to end with that. But Connor still has this idea that he wants to run for president, y'all. He has done nothing in his entire life, no experience whatsoever. And then he makes this video basically saying how he's not paying his taxes and he ain't ever going to pay his taxes. And so Logan enlists Shiv to go handle that. Like, girl, get your brother, get him together, tell him do not release that video, do not try to run for president, because you're just messing up everything that we have going on. Shiv doesn't want to do this because she wants to go to Hungary to the corporate retreat because he's supposed to be grooming her to take over the company. But he was like, I need you to do this for me. And so she goes to talk to him, and she was just like, sir, these people are going to use you for your money without you even knowing about it. And then they're just going to leave you. They know that you have no chance. You need to give this up. And she even tries to get Willa to tell him to stop. But she's just like, this is what he wants to do. So I'm going to let him do that. And then when she was like, okay, well, I mean, you're the first lady and all. And I was like, dang, I didn't even think that Willa would be the first lady if Connor won. And just their whole, did they even think about so how did you guys meet? Oh, I pay her to be with me. I'm her sugar daddy. How's that supposed to be okay? But I don't know. But Shiv decided she's going to go hang out with Willa, have drinks with some of her friends. And then she sees this little cutie Chris. I saw how she looked at Chris because I was looking at Chris the same way too. I was like, hey, cutie, you single? I didn't see no ring. You in a relationship? And so we know that Tom and Shiv have this open relationship. And we kind of see the inevitable of what's going to happen. And they end up she goes back to his place. She tells him that she's in an open relationship. But I'm like, girl, you're married. So you shouldn't say you're in an open marriage. And where's your wedding ring? Because I didn't see Shiv's wedding ring that entire episode. And I was just a little bit confused. So they end up having sex. And I'm just so confused about why Shiv just cannot be monogamous. But we know that she told Tom on their wedding night that hey, that's not meant for me. I just can't do that. And he said he was okay with it. But yeah, so it's interesting, Tom and Shiv's relationship, because Tom is very against wanting to stop Pierce, but that is what Shiv wants him to do. And so she reminds him, there's going to be a new sheriff in town. You need to do this because sooner or later you're going to be working for me. And so he reluctantly, goes along with this idea, but he's afraid to approach Logan because Logan's crazy and he rude, he petty, he mean. He doesn't know how he's going to react. And so it's interesting because Shiv's reasoning for not wanting this Pierce thing to go through is because she truly believes in the news. She was like, Pierce is the only last company that I can watch real news and get information from because they already own the news. And it's basically just cray-cray. It's just the S show. I don't want to be cursing y'all. So it's interesting because she doesn't have faith in the news stations that her father owns. And she doesn't want to kind of take away the last credible, news source that, the country has. And so that is her real reasoning. But also, too, she probably doesn't want to deal, with kind of the issues that would happen if this acquisition wasn't to go through or if there were any bad dealings, because when she became CEO, she would be the one to have to deal with this headache. And so it's kind of twofold her reasoning on why she wants Tom to be her like double agent secret agent and kind of stop all of this from happening. The problem is he doesn't agree with her reasons, and he actually really does want this to go through. And so during the course of them meeting, Carl and Jerry approaches him that like, she's like, I need you to tell him that people have reservations about Pierce. Well, this needs to come from family. Roman's not going to do it because he's for it. Kendall's just going along with anything that his dad wants to do. So you're the only one that is left, and you have to take one for the team. She's like, be a hero. And also too, we already talked to Shiv. So if you don't do this, we snitching on you. And I was like, snitches get stitches, Jerry. But yeah, so he ends up telling Logan at the party, he's like, I'm about to say something at dinner, but like just disregard it. And I was like, sir, how do you do that? Huh? Even Logan looked at him like, what are you talking about? And so he tells them that, you know, people have reservations about this Pierce deal. And so this sets Logan off completely into the craziest scene like ever in life. So they're at the retreat, okay? So oh, also too, before I even get to that, they went hunting in the episode because that was the whole purpose of them being there and hungry. I thought it was really creepy how they like killed the boars and then took this picture and had them laid out in like this ceremonious layout style as they took the picture. I don't know if that was just me. Is that what people do when they go hunting? Is this just what rich people do? I don't know, because I ain't got no money. I'm broke and I sadly make it take all my money every month. But I just thought that was really creepy. Just a little side note. But yes, back to the dinner party. So they are at this dinner party, and essentially Logan starts telling everyone, you know, get a drink, let's drink, y'all, like, you know, trying to get everybody liquored up. And I found it interesting, if you watch the end of the episode, they talk about how Stalin used to have dinner parties and where he would drink water but get everyone else drunk around them and kind of use the things that they did against them or to try to get them to talk. And so he's trying to get everyone liquored up because he has to figure out who the heck is his mole, who is trying to stop his deal with Pierce, and who is talking to this writer. And so I thought it was really weird that one of the co-workers, Ray, he was trying to leave, and he was like, what are you doing? And he was like, I gotta go take a leak. And he was like, we're on lockdown. Go piss in a bucket if you need to pee. I was like, Logan, you can't tell people that. And why did Ray really go get a bucket and was about to pee? He was like, sir, I was just joking. Like, you're nasty. I mean, that ain't what he said, but I was just like, it's not that deep. A paycheck is never that deep to we go pissing in a bucket in a room full of people and hungry. It just wasn't that serious. So we see that he starts to tell them that they're going to play this game. And the game is called Boar on the Floor. And I was just like, what is Boar on the Floor? Everybody looking like, is this a real game? Like, have you heard about this? I'm trying to like Google it. Like, is this real? Like, what is the premise of this game? And so he starts asking people questions, and essentially, like, if he felt as though they were lying, he tells them to go stand in the corner. And so Tom tries to say something. He was like, Tom, shut up. He was like, don't talk to me again until you bring me a grandson or you shooting blanks. I was like, oh, so we being real petty at this dinner table. And so he asked Jerry to ask him, like, how does she feel about the Pierce deal? And she was like, well, I have some reservations. And she was like, see that? That's honesty. And he told her to sit back down. And so then he asked Greg, and Greg tried to mimic the same thing that she said. And then he was like, go in the corner with everybody else. And he was like, but I just said what she said and you let her sit down. And then he was like, get in the corner. So I'm like, why are they telling them to go in the corner? Like, what is all of this about? And so then he basically has them, he tells them to get on the floor. So he tells them to get on the floor and then starts telling them to oink like a pig. So they start oinking, then tells them to start going in a circle. Then he gets sausages, grabs the sausage, and tells them, like, the last person who doesn't get to eat this, they was the mole. And then so they were like wrestling each other for it. And then there's a moment where it looks like Tom is about to snitch and just tell Logan, like, it was Greg, but he doesn't. And I was like, what? Like, look at him trying to have a little heart. And so all of that craziness, while all of that is happening, Kendall ends up taking Roman's phone while he's when he's recording them. He goes through his phone to try to see who the call was earlier, and then he tells them it was Roman who basically spoiled this deal. That's how they found out about it. And Roman tries to explain to him he was trying to do something good. He was trying to get the deal for himself, but of course this backfired. He called him a moron. And so basically he starts asking him, like, well, how much is a gallon of milk? And they was like, what? I don't know. And then he's like, Ray, how much is a gallon? Don't know. I was like, y'all that rich that don't nobody know? You can't take a wild guess that milk is like $3.50, and if you want to buy some good, if you want to buy some good almond milk, my almond milk is like $3.99 when it's on sale, but it's really $4.99. But that's just me because maybe I'm poor and I gotta pay attention to prices. But I'm like, why doesn't anybody know how much like a gallon of milk costs? That was just really crazy to me. And so Logan just goes into this whole thing about how he has morons working for him. Don't nobody know what a gallon of milk costs. He just started going crazy. And so that whole scene was just so crazy to watch. And so, but it ties into this theme of hunting because he's hunting for the mole. He's hunting for the person that he thinks is backstabbing him. And so we just see all of these like revelations going out. Then Kendall starts snitching on everybody. I was like, Kendall, why you snitching? Just stop. You were just trying to like backstab your daddy a couple of episodes ago. It's not time for you to be snitching. Even Jerry was looking at him like snitches get stitches, say something else, because he ratted her out saying Jerry's playing both sides. I was like, Kendall, shut up. You doing way too much. But that whole scene was just the craziest thing that I ever seen. I hate that it happened. It was highly entertaining, very cringy to watch. But I just have a slight feeling that people are going to try to reenact this, that this is how they're going to haze people. Don't do this at your corporate retreats. Don't try to do this in interfraternities. It was just too much, but it just made it such entertaining television to watch this entire episode. And so what's crazy is the next day, we kind of see this conversation that Roman has with Jerry. Roman's kind of hiding out. He looks like he just was drunk out of his behind. And he asks Jerry, like, how do I get him to trust me? Kind of out of all of this is Roman has been that son who you don't take him seriously. You never ever thought that he was going to take over, but somehow in his mind, he feels as though he's the only one left because he still discounts Shiv. And he's trying to prove to his father that he can do this. And it seems that he wants to take this seriously. And Jerry tells him, like, know what the gallon of milk costs. Go through this management training. Like, you need to start from the bottom and you really need to immerse yourself into this company if you want to impress him. So it seems like, even though he messed up, and then he told her, like, stop taking advice from Tabitha, like, take advice from someone who actually knows about business. And so it seems that he's going to turn over a new leaf, that he's really going to take his job seriously, that he's going to learn about his job and what the heck he's actually supposed to be doing. So I'm interested to see what Roman's progression, what his character development looks like for the rest of the season, as he tries to get serious, as he tries to continue to win the approval of his father. And so it's interesting when they're on the flight back, we see, before that, we see at breakfast the next morning. I thought it was interesting that Sid, who's over ATN, who hates Tom, she was like, Tom, do you want some sausage? And he's like, no. And then she's like, I'll eat your sausage. And I know I just got all the satisfaction from Sid because she hates Tom guts. So to watch that entire thing take place the night before, I'm sure that just gave her all of her life, and I was here for it. But we see that Logan tells Kendall and Frank to come to the table. He apologizes to them kind of about what transpired, at the dinner. And then we see a secretary tells him that Mo, the person who was like in hospice, was the one who talked to the writer, and he was like, F him. And then she's like, oh, and he passed away last night. He was like, oh, can you send the condolences to him? And then he was like, hey, actually, can you send Sam over there to go hack his computer? And I was like, sir, this man just died. Like, it was just too much. Logan is just absolutely too much. His level of petty is just something that one would aspire to be at, like, especially with his wealth. I loved every moment with him in this episode. I thought it was a very cuckoo episode, great writing, great foreshadowing of them talking about, having the doctor talk about his irritation, his paranoia, his anxiety, and to watch all of it kind of come to a head at this dinner table, which only signifies to the audience that he's still not well. Like, he's not getting any better. He's becoming more unpredictable. You never know how he's going to react to certain situations, which makes this a very hostile environment for the workers, even though he's trying to work on this company morale. But I just thought it was a really great episode. And one of the things that I enjoyed the most was at the end when Tom comes home and he sees Shiv and he's like, how was your weekend? And she was like, do you really want to know? Which kind of hints to him how she cheated. That she slept with someone, that reminds him of the arrangement that they have. And then also, too, that he kind of stands up for himself with Shiv and tells him that tells her that I need to be included on this. Like, if we're supposed to be a team, like, I need to be included from the beginning because you sent me on this mission that I didn't want to do, that I don't agree with. So I need to have more input. You need to respect me. I need to have more say. And I was like, about time that you stood up for yourself. I was really happy that you did that. And you also gave a line that everyone should take note. Never trust anyone, when he told Greg that. And so I think that's pretty much everything. Oh, I forgot to talk about Connor. He actually did end up releasing the video, which we didn't get to see how Logan reacted to that. So I don't know how that's supposed to happen. Connor's probably going to be going to jail at this point. But Connor did teach us, if you blend your wine for 10 seconds, it ages your wine by 5 years. I don't know if that's true. Am I going to lie to you guys and say that I'm not going to try that? I'm not. I'm probably going to try it just to see how it works. But yeah, I'm trying to think, is there anything else that I missed for this episode? I don't think so. I love this episode. To me, this is definitely the best episode of season 2 so far. Definitely one of like top 3, if not top episode for me for Succession, even though the season 2 finale was still cray at the same time. But yeah, like, Brian Cox just deserves all of the awards. If you guys are not watching Succession, you should definitely watch it. It's such an entertaining show. It's just a crazy show. And this episode it just gave me my life. It was everything. It gave me my entire life. This whole theme of hunting, I thought it was well done. Very great title for the episode. I can't say any other great things about it. Those are my thoughts on Succession Season 2, Episode 3, Hunting. As always, my name is Sharonda from Pay Or Waits, and if you like what you saw today, make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, share this video with your friends, and make sure you hit that notification bell. And I love you guys 3000. I'll see you soon.